Okay, welcome everyone. Think about being out on the open road, that feeling of freedom. Just miles of highway ahead. It's exciting, right?
Definitely. There's a real appeal to it.
But sometimes that feeling can flip. Suddenly you're far from home, maybe a bit exposed, and something happens that's not just unexpected, it's terrifying. So today, we're going to share some stories, some really unsettling accounts we found. These come from a YouTube channel, compilation, supposedly true experiences people had on road trips.
Yeah, and we're going to talk through these specific accounts. The idea is to pull out what makes them so chilling, the little details, and maybe see what we can learn from these really scary encounters that people shared.
Exactly. Straight from the sources, what happened to them.
Right. What makes them stick with you.
Okay, so let's get into the first one. This happened back in early June 2017. The person telling this story was on a road trip to West Virginia with their 9-year-old son, Tom.
Sounds okay so far.
Well, it was apparently really hot. The car had no AC, so things were already kind of tense. The source mentions they'd actually had an argument earlier.
Okay, adds a layer.
Yeah. So they're driving late, it's about 9 p.m., and Tom needs to use the bathroom. They see a sign for a rest area and pull off. The place is described as small. The usual buildings, some vending machines, benches. But here's the thing. There's only one other vehicle there. A big white pickup truck.
Just one other truck? Okay.
Isolated.
Right. And because of the argument, things are quiet. The dad expects Tom to be quick, so he leaves the car running, just waiting.
Okay, so he's just sitting there, engine running, vulnerable, maybe, without realizing it. That silence after the argument probably makes everything feel heavier.
Totally. So maybe a minute goes by and the back door opens, someone gets in. The driver doesn't look back, doesn't say anything, just assumes 100% that it's Tom.
Right. You just assume.
Yeah. Plans to just drive in silence for a bit.
Yeah.
So they pull out of the rest area back towards the interstate, and Tom's not Tom.
Not Tom. And as they're pulling away, they notice that white pickup truck. It's pulling out right behind them.
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah.
They get on the interstate, move to the left lane. The pickup follows. They speed up a bit. The pickup matches their speed.
So not just leaving at the same time, but actively following? That's creepy.
Yeah, the driver starts thinking, is this guy just being aggressive? The pickup starts flashing its lights.
Okay, that's definitely weird.
The driver moves to the right lane to let them pass. But the pickup moves right over too.
Yeah.
Stays with them, flashing its lights. Then it pulls up alongside in the middle lane and slows down.
What happens then?
The driver rolls down the window, annoyed. Right. And the pickup driver, described as a creepy, sketchy dude, is yelling something and pointing at their car.
Yelling. Can they hear him?
No, too much road noise. So the pickup driver signals for them to pull over.
Oh man, risky.
Totally. The driver's heart is racing. They tell Tom, who they think is Tom, to stay calm, but they're gripping the wheel ready to floor it if things go bad.
Smart move. Prepared for the worst.
They pull over onto the shoulder. The pickup pulls in behind them on the grass. The driver's tense, ready to bolt.
And
Then the pickup driver shouts, "Wait!" Runs up to the driver's side window and yells, "That's not your kid."
Whoa, just like that.
Yeah, pointing to the back seat. The driver's just stunned. Says, "What?"
I can't even imagine.
The pickup driver repeats it. "That's not your kid that got in your car."
And the realization must have just hit like a ton of bricks. You expect your kid, you hear the door, your brain fills in the blanks, you don't check until someone forces you to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And right then, the back right door of their car opens and someone gets out. Someone described as not my son, Tom. A tall person, a fully grown man.
Oh my God.
And this man just bolts, disappears straight into the woods beside the highway. Gone.
This vanishes, wow.
The driver starts screaming after him, but he's gone. They turn to the pickup driver, totally panicked now, thinking about where Tom is. They think the guy like Creed jumped back in the car.
Racing back to the rest stop, I bet.
Yeah, racing back. The pickup follows them. They get there. And Tom is standing outside the bathroom, just waiting, looking confused.
Oh, thank goodness. He was safe the whole time.
Right. The driver, gasps out the whole story, totally breathless. The pickup driver confirms it all. They thank him again. He drives off.
What an incredible intervention by that stranger.
It really was. The source says Tom was actually kind of intrigued by it all, but the driver was so shaken up, it weirdly helped mend the tension. They talked the whole rest of the way home, processing it.
I bet.
And the final chilling bit, the driver says they never actually saw the face of the person who got in. And they add, "Happy I never turned around to look at them."
Gives you chills. Just the thought of driving along, thinking everything's fine.
Right. Imagine that moment, that stranger yelling at your window. What stands out to you from that one? It's the randomness, the assumption.
It's the assumption, yeah. And the vulnerability in a seemingly safe space, like your own car at a rest stop. And how much depended on that other driver noticing something wasn't right. Incredible.
Truly unsettling. Okay, let's move to the second story. This one involves a hitchhiker.
Ah, the classic road trip hazard.
Right. So this is someone driving back home from California, about a 10-hour trip. They left midday, so a lot of it was driving in the dark.
Makes sense.
They stopped for food pretty late, like 12:30 a.m. at a Wendy's just off the freeway. The driver wants to get home, so they decide to eat while driving, even though his girlfriend, who's with him, isn't keen on that.
Okay, so eating and driving late at night.
Yeah. They get back on the freeway, and pretty soon after, the weather just turns awful. Starts pouring rain, a real downpour.
Oh, great. Bad conditions.
His girlfriend insists they pull over, says it's too dangerous. So, reluctantly, he pulls onto the shoulder of the highway.
So now they're stopped, side of the road, middle of the night, in a heavy storm.
Exactly. They're just finishing their food, and suddenly, bam! A loud bang sound at the window.
Whoa, out of nowhere.
Yeah. At first, they think maybe it's just the storm thunder or something. But then the driver looks over, and there's a figure
Yeah.
blocking like 90% of the window.
Oh, that's terrifying.
His girlfriend just shrieks. The source says the driver nearly had a heart attack. You would, right?
Absolutely. Pitch black, pouring rain, figure appears at your window.
So you can't hear anything over the rain, doesn't want to roll the window down. He cracks the door open just a little bit.
Okay.
It's a woman. She's completely soaked, looks disheveled and scared, and she asks for a ride.
Oh, boy. The classic dilemma.
Right. The driver says he felt instantly compelled.
Yeah.
Like, what was I going to do? Tell her no in these conditions.
Yeah, that's tough. Humanitarian impulse versus caution.
So he tells her, get in the back.
Yeah.
His girlfriend shoots him this look like, are you kidding me? Why did you just let a stranger in the car?
I can picture that look. That's the, we'll talk about this later, look, but also the this feels wrong look.
Totally. So the woman gets in the back. The driver asks her, where are you heading?
Innocent.
Silence. Nothing. The girlfriend gives him that look again.
Okay, red flag number 1.
Big one. He figures maybe she didn't hear him over the rain, so he turns around in his seat to face her.
And what does he see?
He sees she's already looking right back at him. But her face, it's described as cold, unfriendly. A neutral blank face, but something about it was just off-putting. Not scared anymore.
Whoa, that switch from supposedly scared to cold. That's really unnerving, the disconnect there.
Definitely unnerving. He asks again, where are you heading? She just shrugs and then looks away, like the conversation's over.
Shrugs. Okay, that's beyond weird now. That's actively dismissive.
Girlfriend looks at him again. He kind of announces to the car, okay, well, I'll drop you off at the next town. Maybe trying to sound in control.
Trying to set a boundary, yeah.
They pull back onto the highway, which the source calls barren, and just driving along in the rain.
The tension must have been immense.
And then it breaks. Suddenly this ear-piercing screaming sound right from behind his head.
Oh no.
Woman in the backseat lunged forward and suddenly wrapped her arms around my throat.
Attacking him while he's driving.
Yeah, trying to strangle him from behind. He slams on the brakes, struggling to breathe. The car swerves, almost hitting the divider.
Jesus.
Yeah.
That's immediate, violent.
But his girlfriend reacts fast. She reaches back and slashed at the woman's face with her long nails.
Good for her. Quick thinking.
Yeah, the source says the screaming changed instantly. Went from deranged, angry to pain and agony.
Okay, that bought them a moment.
It did. While the woman's reeling from the pain, the driver manages to stop the car and scramble out. He rips open the back door, grabs the woman, and just literally threw her out of the car into the rain.
Wow. Just ejected her.
He said as she was on the ground, she started begging, please, please, but nothing else. He just ignored her, jumped back in the driver's seat, locked all the doors immediately.
Smart. Don't engage further.
As he puts the car in drive to get away, she starts banging on the window again, screaming. And the sound is described as like a deranged mental asylum patient.
Terrifying. Absolutely terrifying.
He just drives off, casually, the source says, feeling she wasn't a threat to him anymore at that moment.
I guess casually means as fast as possible without crashing.
Probably. His girlfriend immediately calls the police, tells them there's a suspicious, unstable woman on the side of the highway.
Good. Warn other people, get her help, or get her contained.
They just drove straight home after that. Shaken up, obviously, but just wanting it to be over.
Man, that story, It really hits that nerve about helping strangers, doesn't it? Especially late at night, bad weather. You want to help, but
But the risk is potentially catastrophic. His impulse was good, but the outcome
Yep.
makes you question everything. What do you take away from that one?
it's the unpredictability, the switch in behavior. The initial vulnerability seemed real, according to the source, which makes the sudden violence even more shocking. It highlights how difficult it is to judge intent and the severe consequences of getting it wrong in such an isolated spot.
Yeah, a really tough scenario.
Yeah.
Okay, one more story to share from this source material. This one involves a potential trap.
Okay, this sounds ominous already.
It happened in 2010. The person telling it was driving a big Ford F-150 pickup truck, long drive Pennsylvania to Georgia, planning to do it all in one go, about 14 hours.
That's a haul. Gonna be tired.
Exactly. It's late, around 11:30 p.m. They just made their last gas stop. ETA is about 12:30 a.m., so they're close, but definitely feeling the fatigue. The source explicitly mentions being tired.
Fatigue is a major factor in so many incidents. Reaction time, judgment, it all goes down.
For sure. And right after the gas station, the GPS takes them off the main highway, puts them onto these country-ass side roads, is how the source puts it.
Oh, those dark, winding roads late at night. Not ideal when you're tired.
No. Described as pitch black. The driver mentions having the big truck high up plus a light bar helped with visibility, but still, they knew they were too tired, even being close. They turn off one quiet road onto an even quieter one. Speed limit's 45, but they admit they were pushing it, like 55, 60 mile per hour.
Assuming nobody else is out there.
Right? Just woods on both sides. And suddenly, up ahead, they see like 4 shiny objects coming up fast.
Shiny objects, what were they?
They slam on the brakes, stopping just in time. Get closer and see their traffic drums. You know, those big orange cylinder things?
Okay, weird to just be in the middle of a dark country road, but maybe construction.
That's what they thought, maybe. They grab a baseball bat, just in case, get out of the truck, and walk over to the drums.
That's probably a good idea out there.
And then they see it. Behind the drums, something else. A spike trap, like the kind police use.
Whoa, okay, that's not construction. That's deliberate. Traffic drums and a spike strip.
Exactly. The driver immediately thinks, is this police? Or is this a trap set by someone else?
Who cares?
Given the deserted road, late hour.
Yeah, leaning towards trap seems logical. That's incredibly alarming. What did they do?
They get cautious, look around, slowly back away towards the truck, keeping an eye out.
Good instinct. Assess the situation.
But then they hear something. A scream. Someone yelling, help! Coming from the woods off to the left side of the road.
Oh man, the spike trap and a call for help. That sounds like a setup.
That's exactly what the driver thought. The source says their immediate reaction was, no way I was about to go into those woods.
Smart. Resisting the lure.
They call out, what's wrong? But get no answer back. Just silence from the woods.
Okay. Confirms the suspicion, maybe.
Still trying to get a handle on it, they walk towards the edge of the road, using the truck's headlights and light bar to peer into the woods. And they catch something. In the corner of my eye.
What did they see?
Didn't look directly, but saw someone crouched down behind a couple bushes.
Crouching, not someone clearly injured or needing help. More like hiding.
Right. And despite hearing the scream, seeing the figure, the driver makes a very specific choice. They casually walk back to my car, didn't run, didn't show panic.
That's interesting. Playing it cool, maybe so whoever's watching doesn't know they've been spotted. Or just trying to stay calm under pressure. It suggests they assessed it wasn't genuine need, but a lure.
Seems like it. Because as soon as they get back in the truck and shut the door, they look left again, towards the woods where the scream came from.
Yin.
And they see 2 silhouettes by the edge of the woods on the side of the road, walking towards my truck.
Ah, there it is. They were waiting. Coming out now that the driver is back at the vehicle.
Yep. The trap was sprung. Maybe the lure didn't work, so now they're approaching the stopped truck.
Okay, instant danger. Locked by a spike strip, people approaching. What now?
Quick thinking. Driver slams the truck into gear, cranks the wheel right, and drives to the right side of the road onto the dirt and past the spike trap.
Drove around it. Off the road.
Yeah. The driver figured the silhouettes probably didn't expect that. They expected the driver to be stopped, maybe try to move the drums or deal with the spikes, not just drive off the road entirely.
Brilliant improvisation. Using the truck's capability to just bypass the obstacle. That probably saved them.
Almost certainly. And as they accelerate away, down the dirt shoulder and back onto the road past the trap, they look in the rearview mirror.
What did they see?
For just a second, caught in the taillights, they saw at least 3 silhouettes standing by the traffic drums.
3 of them. Wow.
Then the truck sped up, and they were gone. Out of my vision and out of my life forever, as the source puts it. They finish by saying, they never expected anything like that, but just incredibly glad they reacted the way they did and got out alive.
That one is particularly chilling because it feels so planned. The deliberate placement of the drums, the spike strip, the lure scream, the figures waiting. That's not random, that's predatory.
Yeah, it turns the isolation of the road into part of the weapon system almost. Very scary stuff.
Definitely.
So we've talked through these 3 accounts from the source material, the rest area switch, the hitchhiker attack, the spike trap ambush. All very different, but all terrifying.
And what really connects them, I think, based on how they're told in the source, is that shared feeling of vulnerability. Being out there, away from familiar surroundings, maybe tired, maybe distracted. And suddenly, boom, you're in a situation you never anticipated, and you have seconds to react. The sources show just how fast a normal road trip can turn into something out of a nightmare. Deception, sudden violence, a calculated trap. It hits you when you least expect it.
Yeah, it really underscores that the world outside your routine can be unpredictable. These stories, while maybe extreme, are reminders to stay aware. Trust your gut if something feels off.
Absolutely. That intuition is critical.
And it shows how much can depend on quick thinking or sometimes just pure luck, like that first story with the other driver noticing.
Right. Which leads to maybe a final thought for you listening to this. Thinking about these accounts, how much does the setting itself, that isolated road, the dark rest stop, the blinding rain, change how you perceive a potential threat? How much does the where amplify the what?
That's a good question. Does the environment put you on higher alert, or does it make you more vulnerable?
And considering the kinds of things described here, the deception, the trap, how ready can anyone really be for that kind of deliberate, unexpected danger when you're far from home base?
Definitely something to ponder. Well, that's all the time we have for digging into these unnerving stories today.
Yeah, I hope it gave you some things to think about. Stay safe out there.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for tuning in. We hope exploring these accounts was insightful, maybe even a little bit cautionary. If you found this interesting, please do give us a like, share it with someone who enjoys these kinds of stories, and subscribe to the channel, Horror Docs.
We appreciate the support. See you next time.
Bye for now.